basically
Yeah.
whatever they tell us, it's a good rule of thumb is if they tell you to do something, do the opposite. Whatever they're telling you, it's the opposite of what's going on, right?
Yeah.
Bang on.
Though I do get my news from social media, Twitter and things like that,
Me too.
or X or whatever it's called.
X, I know, right? X marks
I
the
trust
spot.
that more. I trust that more than anywhere else.
Hi guys, how you going? Campbell here. Just wanted to let you know this is a chat with Michelle Gibson, Chad from Deeper Conversations with Chad, and Tara, who's organising the great Bosnian Pyramid Tartarian trip. And just to let you all know, Michelle Gibson is now confirmed. She's coming as well to Tartaria. So you'll find the link below if you want to join us. It's myself, Tara, Michelle Gibson, Kelly Jones, I think Dale Holmes is coming, and some amazing teachers and an amazing trip and itinerary. So check out the link below if you want to come. We'll see you there.
So, good morning, good day, good evening, everyone. Different time zones. Here we are, different parts of the world, different parts of our grid. So the topic for today, why we gathered, all of you, I listen regularly on YouTube, and you all just really speak my language. You guys bringing together ideas that I'm playing with for 20 years of my life, and bits and pieces that I could not put together in bigger picture, but it's happening now. And from every single each of us, I get a little bit, sometimes confirmation of my thoughts and my work, sometimes something new. So thank you very much for joining me. If I may introduce you, if you can introduce you shortly, maybe we start with Michelle, ladies first.
Oh, thank you for the invitation today, Tara. And I've been doing intensive research since June of 2018. And I was just going to make one video and just blog. And when somebody subscribed to my channel, I thought, well, geez, I better make videos. And so I just turned my blog post into videos, which was very simple. I found an easy program and started that because I really felt like I needed to get the information that had come to me in the course of living my life and following my passion and my interests. I needed to get out every way I possibly could. So we were talking before we started. I'm very introverted by nature. I like being by myself. I like doing things by myself. I like eating in restaurants by myself. I enjoy being with people, but I think I've heard the definition of introvert being we like to be alone to recharge our batteries, and extroverts like to be around people, and that just drains me. But I'm saying that because I've been doing this for so many years now, and I've been on different panels and interviewed by different people, that the talking part of this has become a lot more comfortable for me. And so it was kind of a growth process throughout this. It's like, okay, I can write and then turn that into a script and then make a video and I'm cool. Into being a lot more comfortable in a life situation or interview situation. Because the bottom line we have been lied to about everything in our existence. And when you really start understanding that, and the way to get to the truth is you just have to let go of everything you've ever been taught to believe in our culture, in our world today. To get to the truth, you just have to let it all go. And if you don't let it all go, and there's filters that you process it through, I'm not saying you're not going to get it. I'm just going to say it's going to take longer, because the source materials that we're given as gospel to go look at, to substantiate our research is all based on this, the fact that we've been lied to. So you're going to source reference materials to get your substantiation, and it's not, it's what the establishment wants you to believe.
Mm-hmm.
And, I can speak for myself, and I think all of you have to think way outside of the box and be open to different paradigms, because the truth is out there. It's there. The evidence is everywhere. And I came into a higher level of understanding just by following cities and places in alignment, according to sacred geometry on the Earth's grid system, on ley lines that I found. That was my beginnings. And in the process of doing that, the whole story unfolded. Who the original people were, which I had an idea when I started. So, I was already down with the Moorish paradigm.
Mm.
I had come into that awareness. But how advanced the civilization was, how connected the civilization was, how integrated the infrastructure is all over the earth. And, there's no difference in Uzbekistan, in the Central Asian Republic, that you find in other countries, canals. And there's an Angkor Canal in Tashkent, which is the capital of Uzbekistan, Angkor. So that sounds like Angkor Wat in Cambodia. You've got it sounds Egyptian, got the Ankh in there. It's spelled the same way. And, the same kind of architecture. There is North America, Australia. And so seeing that, and then seeing, how the colonizers came in and went along these ley lines and took everything over, and then started with their new system. And so we've been taught everything was way, way further back in a lot of situations than it was. So, the ice ages, I'm going to have to close my door. It's windy today. They gave us a whole story about the ice ages to explain how things came into existence. And that's what everybody accepted and taught, and was taught in late 19th century. Everything was created by, long, long ago, millions of years ago. All of these glacial forces and all of this other stuff created what we see in the land. And then, you start doing some digging and looking and comparing, and it's like, we call them glacial erratics in the United States, and then in Great Britain, they're called dolmens. And it's the same thing with a gigantic rock on top of little rocks. Carried here by a glacier, because there's not supposed to be anything like that.
The balancing rocks.
Exactly, same idea. And the same story in Australia. All this came in with the Europeans.
Yeah.
And it's, and if the Europeans just took credit for it, and the Aboriginals are hunter-gatherers, who did it? Instead of looking at the people that were already there. And the same thing in North America and other countries. The Bushmen in South Africa. What was done to just turn the story on its head. So that's what my education has come along in with studying these ley lines, and then going deeper into it and connecting dots and things like that. And then with Chad's help in shifting my perception, I brought giant trees in.
Yes, the trees.
A very needed missing piece of the puzzle.
Nice.
So I'll end on that.
Thank you. Regarding to trees, I work in forestry, so I spend a lot of time among them. And I live in an area where there's a lot of irrigation channels. There is a big river called Ord River, and then there is irrigation channels all around the valley. And one day I'm standing by one of those channels and looking into trees, and I'm thinking, trees, when we look into cities, star cities and channels, and I'm thinking trees are missing link. There were trees all over the place, which in many cases today we don't see what I see in Europe, the tendency to cut. In the cities, they cut trees. In a city, which city of Ljubljana, Slovenia, where I coming from, there is a rule recently come to power. All the trees that are older than 70 years, they need to cut them off in a city. Imagine that.
Mm.
We have beautiful big trees. Ljubljana is beautiful city. So old world. And that's what they're doing. And then talking synchronicity, a few days later, I'm listening Chad, and he says trees are the part of a grid. And I'm like, yes, that's living part, living consciousness. As you said, antennas, transmitters, and so much more. One day I'm standing in front of a tree and thinking, they're giving us air, food, medicine, shelter, building material, so much. And then he said they are our friends, and that's what I'm experiencing at work. And I spending a lots of time in the bush, in Australia bush. They are our friends. They listen, they talk, they like us. It's just they stand in one place. Maybe they are not. So yeah. So if we can continue with Chad and his love for trees, that's what I feel when I listen to you. You love trees, and so do I.
Yeah. So thank you again, like Michelle said, Tara, for inviting me on to talk. But I suppose my journey started, it's always been there. We questioned this from a child, what I did. I always knew there was something different, the questions that the adults weren't asking, the things they were talking about just didn't make sense to me. So I felt like it was always prompted. My background really is in like the mind. I've got like degree in criminology and criminal behavior psychology. So my search started out for God, a search for the spiritual self, and going through so many different aspects and religions to find a deeper meaning, seeing the duality in life, the black and the white, the dark and the light, and coming to terms of that in the world and in myself. And then after my journey, which is a long one, too much to explain here, which was connected via a tree. I had an absolutely amazing experience where I connected to all via a tree. And that's ever since then, a lot of my work comes from, I call them downloads or the self, but I feel like the trees help me connect to the grid, help me realize. Yeah. So, and then obviously come to Michelle, and Michelle inspired me to make videos and do more. But for me, from a child, I've always been interested in movies and things like that. So a lot of my work comes from different angles. I know there's so much movie disclosure. There's so much truth hidden in our movies. I've showed in Avatar and just different things. So my work's a little bit different. It's not as evidence-based in terms of hard research. It's definitely outside the box, loose thinking. But for me, it's all about the inversion and the destruction of the grid. And that's done via many ways. And another thing that I've spoke about on the channel is programming, the manipulation of the minds and the hearts of the public. And it's done in so many different ways, as we know, through the education system, through the media. There's just so much. So we're fighting so many battles on so many different levels. It's the battle of the heart, the mind, the nature, ourselves. So yeah, I find you guys inspiring. People that have been thinking about these questions far longer than I have and been putting in the work. All I'm doing is coming in and adding my little piece, really. So it's a pleasure to be here with you guys today.
Very same. Thank you. Yeah, regarding, I watched a few times actually your MK Ultra series. I found your material, all of you, it's study material for me. There's certain content that I watch few times or listen, or, you know, it's really systematic learning in some ways. So same way I watched your MK Ultra series, and it just, I went through those topics few times before, but this time I think we all are involved in that kind of programming, right? It's not just direct victims of experimentation. And I grew up in communism, and I deep down into my memories once again and just realized whole country was just one big MK Ultra experiment, you know, because everything was so structured. And then was that guy, that authority, that leader who we as a kids were already taught to worship. And it's just, everything makes so much sense to me regarding to that. And then I used to really like to listen to George Michael when I was younger, and I went through his videos once again, and he, like so many others, he talks through the videos from 80s. He talk straight story. It's in a picture, it's in a words. He's telling what's happening. And, you know, all of those things, they are healing. It was healing for me because once again, I went through it all. I saw how it has an impact on me and my family. And it's big healing, and it's another step into freedom, if you want. And all your work, everything you're doing, I find it's really, as we remember things, as we healing, we become, I remember more who I am really, you know. It's more of me, it's more of real me. It's not just history, it's us. And that's big for me. That's really important part. So thank you. Okay, Cambell.
Me. Hello.
You. Hello.
Thanks for putting this all together. And yeah, I just sort of, I'm kind of like Michelle. I just was researching and made a video one day, and people liked it and subscribed. I was like, oh, what do I do now? So I kind of fell into this, but I'm like, yeah, I've been into history, and I've kind of been awake to the scam, you know, my whole life, really. I've just seen things differently and wondered why no one else could. It was, you know, and wondered why people just did what they did and basically did what they were told, right? Like I couldn't work any of this out. But so yeah, I just kind of ended up here, like after years of, you know, a life of research, and started making videos. And so yeah, it's been a cool journey, you know, and I sort of started just before the whole world, you know, changed. So it was a good little ride. But yeah, I mean, I just do this really just to try and, you know, not tell people what to think or anything. I just want them to ask better questions and to look at things and consider things, you know, because that's what's been taken away from us, right? Like they put us in school and they teach us that don't use your, like, unless you repeat back to us what we tell you to, then you're stupid or you fail and all this kind of. So we're programmed from day dot, right, to think that the smart people are the ones that can, you know, parrot back to you what the narrative is. It's really strange. And so that's, I mean, I guess that's why I called my channel, you know, Autodidactic, which is to be self-educated. And I think that's the biggest thing. You know, as long as you can think for yourself, then I think you're winning. You know, I think, and another thing, you know, people want this confirmation, don't they, to sort of like, they go outside of themselves. Am I right? Is this right? You know, do you agree? But we're all in our own little worlds, literally. We all see life differently, and it's not, it's, you know, the game isn't to get the most to agree with you, right? Like life's an inside job, man. So yeah, that's kind of a bit about me. And yeah, thanks for inviting me. And I've only seen one of your videos, Chad, when you had Michelle on and someone else. So what's your channel? Conversations with Chad, is it? Is that right?
Conversations with Chad. I'm a lot smaller than you guys. I'm a year in.
Right.
I'm a year in.
Growing.
Nice. Well, everyone go and subscribe to Conversations with Chad.
Chad's born knowing how to do this. The first video he made, he sent me and just blew me away. He's like, "Hey, Michelle, I want to start my own channel. What do you think?" "Oh, that sounds great." 3 days later, or not even 2 days later, I get a video and it's like, you know, it's like he's been doing it his whole life.
Yeah.
And they're all like that. They'll all blow you away.
Yeah.
So highly recommend Chad's work.
Yeah, I got addicted at some point.
You guys make me feel a little bit.
So you'll catch up with us soon, Chad.
Yeah, we'll do our own. We'll do something, and you know, the future's big. The future's big. Who knows what?
Absolutely. And this is important information, and people are just starting to, I think, more and more waking up to it. So it's a future investment also for people who this very moment had no idea what's happening. But as things one after another happening, more and more people will realize, I think, that's something does not line up. So yeah. So for
and just one thing, Chad's in the middle of editing our last conversation that he and I had, and it's probably going to come out fairly soon, right? But there's a lot of the bigger subject matter is definitely connected to this, and it's something along the lines of, the title will be something along the lines of Giant Trees, the Earth's Grid, and the New World Order. Ooh. Because it's definitely connected.
Oh.
Definitely connected, and we make a really good case for showing exactly how it's connected and what the cabal or the controllers, whatever you want to call, when they went out to claim the new Earth, the new world, after what I believe was a cataclysm that took place relatively recently. And they were definitely very, very interested in the giant trees, or what was left of them.
Yeah.
What happened to them? Well, we talk about what we think might have happened to them too, why they don't look like trees anymore, not, at least not obviously. So they know about them, and that's also what we're seeing playing out now. You know, they're targeting the trees. So
you think you're saying the trees were part of the grid network? Can
100%.
Can we go into that a little bit, just so that we get the sort of concept? Because trees have come into my consciousness just over the last couple of months too, but more in, like, I'm just meeting all these people and they're telling me to go and sit with trees and listen to trees and all this kind of stuff. It's this repeating theme. It's really bizarre. So I think, you know, it is, you know, the trees are coming back, right? Lord of the Rings, trees enter the fight. So I think that they are, you know, a good source for, you know, healing and inspiration, but also just to reconnect, right, with nature. Like, we've all connected into this closed electric grid. You know, I call it the L grid. You know, electronics, and everything we see is through this electronic filter now. And so that's the overlay. And so, yeah, I think we need to get back and connect to you know, to country, land, nature, whatever you want to call it. But yes, introduce us to a bit about the theory of the trees that you're going down.
Chad, why don't you start out?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So obviously I've got videos on this, and people may have saw them. We're looking at the Earth as a circuit board type of analogy, with the trees acting as amplifiers and transmitters, and having being potential generators of power themselves, at least playing huge parts to the grid. Comparing that on a micro macro to the human body, they're like main like acupuncture points almost in the body, meridians, that, you know what I mean? So everything works for me on a micro macro. For it to work, it has to work consistently, and this does. All it's doing is funneling that down and up. The trees having absolutely immense power. We've kind of looked to them, haven't we, Michelle, from the standpoint that these were sacred places. But we're talking after they've been chopped down and everything, often surrounded by your cities that will but the reason the city's placed there to harvest obviously the tree. A lot of these are stone circles and so forth, and marking and indicating these trees. Even in the movie the Lorax, when they chop down the tree, they put rocks around it. Funny enough, that's what I mean. In movies there's some great visuals just to give people an idea. But trees, healing properties, allowing one to connect to the grid. We just look at the stories of the Buddha and all throughout history of people that have just, connected to different things via trees. Maybe people are forgetting the element of trees, or it's being looked past, especially if, say, the Buddha, they're not really considering that the tree plays any part in it. But when we look through everything, the tree seems to be there all the time, and it's not really being spoke about. So it's almost a way for us to connect. When my experience, I was sat underneath a tree with my back to it, sitting on the roots, and it felt like that amplified me or allowed me to get to everything, almost like a plug in an electric socket. So amplifiers of energy, obviously vortexes and all types of energy are considered here as well. You've got the female and male, and these are also represented by like obelisks, windmills. Michelle's identified, she's been lighthouses, which I still haven't looked at properly myself. So yeah, trees play a huge part. And micro and macro, we're a tree ourselves, in a sense. So and the trees, the beautiful thing about the trees is the mycorrhizal network that connects all over the earth. And we'll just look at that on a giant perspective, and we can then start to see the underground tunnels and different aspects, because like underground bases and all of this seems to be connected to the trees. I've got a video coming out which shows all unidentified craft are literally above all the national parks, which are, and the maps are just consistently telling you the same thing. They're all going on in the same places where the trees are. So obviously what I'm saying about the trees having huge power, that's harvested underneath. They're not only taking the resources and have took the resource, what me and Michelle have found through the huge extensive mining, they're also using that power. And that can be, if you onto it, opening other portals and dimensions and CERN and all different types of activity, what they're doing with these types of things. Michelle?
Yeah, they're mining the crap out of this place. Pardon my bluntness, but that's what's going on.
Yeah.
Especially in Australia.
Yep.
That's all they care about.
New law. Yeah, they're trying to do this referendum, which will basically take all native land rights away. And I'm pretty sure the way I see it is that's just to let mining companies in so they can, get to the land that they currently can't get to.
Well, me and Michelle kind of
that's
have been on in that the resources are coming from trees, aren't they, Michelle? The actual resource is what they're after.
Originally the trees had some kind of alchemical relationship with precious metals, all kinds of things, chemical. They were part of what we see here on Earth. And so what happened is I'm doing my research my way. Chad's doing his research his way. He sends me some videos called Mother Earth, and one's on trees, and then another one's on insane asylums and amusement parks. And I watched the one that he sent me first on the giant trees. And what really drew me into it was we were finding the same things in different ways, whether it's quarries or clay pits or asylums or whatever, railroad tracks. And I think in the one with the insane asylums and the amusement parks, he was also looking into the estuaries. And I've had suspicions about estuaries for a long time now, but I'm like more than convinced at this point that that's just all ruined, sunken land where there are estuaries. And I'm piecing together this body of evidence to show this happened recently. This didn't happen thousands of years ago. There was something that happened with the surface of the earth within the last couple of 100 years at the most. And we're still living and working in the buildings, or at least what's left of it. So and to me, this is something that I'm just need to pull together even more evidence than what I've already been able to put together. And in my video about the Australian Aborigines, hunter-gatherers or builders of its civilization, I started to pull together what, things to show that, how they're called different things, how you end up with all these lighthouses next to the coast. But worldwide, you find lighthouses right next to places where the earth has just sheared off, like it just fell right into the ocean. And to me, it looks an awful lot like there was an attack on the earth grid and somehow the lighthouses malfunctioned. And they weren't used to guide ships. They were part of the energy distribution system. And where you have the lighthouses right next to the cliffs is where the land just and I've seen it. I saw it in Australia on the southern coast near the Bight. I've seen it in off the Atlantic coast, New Jersey, New York. And this is land that's coveted by the elites. I mean, this is like their prime real estate. And it's like marshy, sunken islands and lands and rocks and shoals. New Jersey is the same way, prime real estate. They want that land. That's not very good land, but it's where it looks like the continental shelf broke off and slid into the earth, or into the ocean. So we don't see it anymore. And so I'm just saying that because, when Chad was talking about the lighthouses and looking into it more, and he's got an excellent video called Ray Lines, exploring that idea of the importance of the lighthouses. You got ley lines and ray lines. And he does a lot of work with the meanings of words and changing, flipping the letters. And that's kind of how, just in an email exchange we got, from tree energy to free energy. And, that connected it.
Sounds tremendous.
Yep.
And just by flipping it. and so that's been part of this journey, and it's been synchronistic with Chad and I, and with Adam also, who is someone that I know through Chad, and or I've worked with, and his work is brilliant too. He's totally connected to the grid. And so I'm just saying that to me it sure looks like something happened very recently. And with the ley lines that I found, just drawing it out on a map and looking at it by hand, I put things in a spreadsheet, and I've tracked these alignments, and I've come across these islands all over the earth, and that's how I knew about them. And so Chad went to Tenerife not too long ago, looking at it from the perspective that the island of Tenerife was a giant tree. And not only just a giant tree, but an important giant tree. And that got me looking at an island that I knew of called Tristan da Cunha. Tristan, D-A-C-U-N-H-A, Tristan da Cunha. It's one of 3 islands that are British Overseas Protectorate that I found tracking grid lines. And I looked at it, and I started to see a tree stump that I didn't see before. This is the most remote settlement on Earth. It's like 6-day trip by boat to get there, and people live there. There's a small community there. What are they doing there? Why would anybody live in a place like that remote? Closer to the Antarctic than anywhere else. And so we've got a pretty in-depth look into that coming out soon. But it's looking like they were really going after these giant tree locations, former giant tree locations, to colonize, settle, harvest, claim, and hid the fact that they're giant trees from everybody that wasn't in the know. You know, all the rest of us. Chad, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I've bullet pointed just a few things here just to try and people might ask why. I feel we've already answered it, but you've got to imagine this inversion we keep speaking about, and the way to enslave people, to program people, is to take their power away from them. Do you know? So at one point we had power. The trees are involved in this amount of power, you know, and how this world was before. The inversion is them turning the trees into these cell phone towers and all their artificial means, like they've done with everything natural they've inverted. So the trees were part of this grid that give us our power. And I think this is what we're all trying to do, give the power back to people, master themselves. In some senses, we could lift higher than all of this, but we're on it. So it's more to do with that. It's the inversion of everything, and it began. And one of the big parts were the trees, which allow us to all connect, allow us to heal, we don't even really know. All we can go off is stories of the past. And when the myths don't make sense and the legends and some other things, these are some of the reasons why. The chopping down of some of these, the trees, the bringing up of cell phone towers. If you've watched like the things like The Last Druid, it says how the cell phone towers and all these types of frequencies running through the air have stopped us having any type of ability of communicating with each other in any other way, taking away a lot of our natural abilities that would be present in us. And that's just one avenue. So I think a lot of it's to do with losing our connection. You know, we talk about people might not believe in the fight between good and evil, or God and the devil, but it's somewhere along that line. You've got this light, beautiful thing here, and then this inversion happening here. And it's a premeditated plan.
Right.
You know, so
the very first conversation that Chad and I had for his work on Deeper Conversations with Chad, you know, he's like, "Hey, Michelle, we need to have a talk." Okay. And the example that came to my mind after I watched the first Mother Earth video that he did was some research I had done in Sierra Leone on the cotton tree in Freetown in Sierra, which is like in the middle of it. The city, symbol of the city of Freetown is symbol of Sierra Leone. And it was in the middle of a grid or a circle. So streets emanating from it. And I knew from looking at pictures around there, there was some connection to the railroad with the tree, and the railroad's long gone. The only thing they use railroads for pretty much is for freight, mining, that kind of thing. So all the passenger rails that existed at one time have pretty much been taken out. So I had that in mind. So when we sat down to talk, he started to look around Freetown and, you know, point out different things about it. And then I started to really see more. That's where my perception really started to shift about this as being a really important thing. And I know there's a lot of other good researchers out there doing work on it. It was just something I haven't had on my radar, wasn't looking at until Chad brought it to my attention. And we had that interview, I guess it was April. Is that about right, Chad?
March, April, yeah.
We had our first conversation in the spring. And then I get word from Chad that tree is gone by the end of May. Supposedly from a storm or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay. And then we've had a lot going on in the whole world since then. And then within the last couple of days, there was a historic sycamore tree in England that was supposedly vandalized by
Yeah,
a 16-year-old.
I was just going
chopping
to
it
say that the
down.
Robin Hood tree that's linked to Robin Hood somehow. Yeah.
Mm.
You know, and then in between
The
those,
16-year-olds with chainsaws, man.
events, we've had all the forest fires, and Chad went to Tenerife, and then within the next month or so, Tenerife's on fire. So they're clearly,
Yeah.
and then Hawaii, Maui,
Hawaii,
and
Canada,
and
Australia.
all, everything. So it's like there's clearly a targeted attack going on, not only against the trees but also humanity. And I'll turn that over to Chad because he's done some excellent work on that.
Just before, have you got anything to say yourself, Campbell? On the trees or on what we've said?
I was going to say, did you say that the town next to where that tree was called Freetown?
It was the name of the town that it was in.
Yeah.
Was Freetown.
So like Tree Town, right? And the other thing is like tremendous, right? Trees mend us. That's tremendous, right?
Wicked.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's my input for now. I'm listening to
Great.
Oh yeah, Campbell, I forgot that was your thing too.
Do you mind if I share a screen? I have a few pictures from area that I'm in. Giant stumps and stuff like that.
Yeah, that sounds cool. You share and while Chad talks and
yeah.
So Campbell, like I haven't watched that great deal of your videos either. What would you say if you had to give a minute explanation on yourself of what you cover? What would you say your expertise are, or your way of thinking, should I say?
Expertise, oh my gosh. Basically I've just been covering the Tartaria old world sort of niche and just showing different buildings, out of place things, star forts, star cities, and sort of done a bit of work on what's in all the canals. They've all got these similar features, and not as deep as sort of Michelle. When I sort of started this, I was a couple of years in, but my research is that's kind of my videos. I'm kind of showing where I am, it's sort of been the journey rather than sort of coming in with a stack of information and sharing it. So, but yeah, Tartaria, old world, questioning reality, his story, all that kind of stuff.
Lovely. And you sound like you're about the self as well, because that's one important thing for me, the mastery of the self, and external influence, programming, going in. So
definitely that's where I started. Yeah, like I was, like you, looking for, I don't know, the answer or the rule book or whatever, something. And yeah, I didn't, like, one big thing for me, like, because I sort of got in, did some self-help stuff back in the 80s and 90s and worked on those courses and stuff, and couldn't work out how people didn't link that to to like spirituality, or like to link it to their own power. There's always this sort of external thing. And so yeah, I'm very much about, it all comes back to us, right? And in the end, all there is us. It's an inner journey. And and so I do have another channel called Spiral Up, where I sort of talk more about that. And I do like a regular sort of podcast talking more about, I don't know what you want to call it, mindfulness, I don't know.
Nice.
I just call it, asking better questions is really, sort of, well, yeah.
I'll tune in. I'll give you a watch.
Thank you.
It's worth of your time.
Wow. Okay.
Nice. Tree
So is this near you, Tara?
Yes. This is the area Michelle mentioned in her last video on Aboriginal people in Australia. This is Kimberley, East Kimberley. Truly interesting area. First time when we came here. But first I want to tell this story. Chad make me watch Stranger Things, which I never watch scary shows. I just
I've just
Ah.
started it.
So he's mentioning it so many times. I said, I'm gonna watch that. And I give up a few times, but I just had to get back and watch whole series. Anyway, on Friday, I'm at work. This is my work, those trees. This is sandalwood plantation. And Friday, I'm thinking of this show and what we're gonna talk and how I'm gonna make it. And all of a sudden, there is so many flies around me. And you know, Cambell Australian flies, they're really naughty. They just
Tenacious, man.
anyway, and I'm doing this for 3 years. This is environment I worked 3 years, and there was never flies. And all of a sudden, bzzz, on Friday, on my shirt, like on my hand, everywhere. And there is you see, pumpkin field. You remember from Stranger Things, one series? Everything started from rotten pumpkin. And that's what it was. Just that's where the flies were coming off. And I just had that really strange experience. Like I found myself in the middle of, because it's really kind of dodgy scene all around. There is that old farm, you know, there's spooky shed around. It's like, that's that old remote Australian town, a bit dodgy in many ways. It was like, and the funny thing that I'm thinking a lot about, because this is really powerful spot energetically. We have stumps, we have pyramids all over the place. You see, this is my work. So,
wow.
Yeah. Structures like this, they're all over the place, East Kimberley. You find them in sets of 3 or 4 sometimes. This is beautiful national park, which looks a bit like Billabong, Billabong, the Bangles. You see another one. They're all over. This is all over around my workplace. Anyway, so there is that scene around me, like from Stranger Things, and I'm thinking, is it possible, because this is a powerful point in a grid, is it possible that this town and surroundings, such a beautiful nature, so much what we would say anomalies, stumps and pyramids and stuff like that, but then there is so much criminal activity going on, you know, Aboriginal communities and kids there, you know, a lots of trauma, a lots of suffering, a lots of alcohol, drugs, so on. And everything happened in this little area. It's so potent with both sides of spectrum, if you want, beauty and, you know, nature, and just you can feel. First time when I came here, I step out of our car. First time when we arrived, I step out. I immediately felt there was something about this place. And then exploration of it is just, there are waterfalls everywhere. In wet season, all this gets green. And there are water literally coming out of the mountains everywhere. So I'm wondering, is it possible that I found myself in a place where the original grid and also inversion of it play big role? Is it possible that I'm on a place that there is some kind of portal or something? So, yeah, that's it. So you see, that's nearby national park. It's just beside town.
And parks are one of the ways they hide the ancient infrastructure.
Yeah.
Or they actually preserve it.
Yeah.
But they don't call it what it is.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Let's see. We've got the word arc in park. I've got a video called Parks. Parks are a key to everything, aren't they? In America, Michelle.
Sorry, I was going to say, like every year, thousands and thousands of people disappear in national parks, and they're never found again, never seen, never investigated.
Yeah. it's what I mean. It's multiple, and I don't think many people have put it all together. They've not put the missing people along with the trees, along with the underground bases and the UFOs, and it's literally all one kind of thing. There's no separation. Yeah. But what I was going to say, that the things you're identifying on mine, it's the sacred features such as natural waterfalls and natural springs, holy wells. You can see them on maps and markers. They hold so much importance. But what you were talking about with sorry, Michelle, with the inversion, I feel you can flip it as well. You can influence the energy. Me and Michelle's kind of spoken about it. So what you do, you put something on top of it, or you can almost manipulate the energy. And still, we don't know what's going on below it either. So I feel you're right. It's two-tone. It's almost like if you play games, you can get a base, and the opposition or you can get the base. So it's like blue or red, good or evil, and you take hold of that strong point. Do you know what I mean? And then you influence through that. Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, and I absolutely agree with what your thoughts are about that, Tara, because the very powerful places, they definitely want to invert. And so where I live in Arizona is very similar to what you're showing here. And there's, I see giant trees all over the place now. And now that I know what I'm looking at, but they look like mace, flat tops. They look like what you're showing with the pyramid. Tablelands is another name for them, but in Arizona, it's primarily mesas. And so I see it now. But Sedona is the same way, which is a nodal point on the Earth's grid system. So there's 12 primaries. Uluru is one of them, which is probably a giant tree candidate. And it's like it's like a magnet for the light and the dark in Sedona. And it's a very powerful place. And so, I think whatever happens with those kinds of places, I'm a firm believer light's got this. And we'll talk some more about that, because Chad and I both feel this isn't the end. I mean, this is a beginning, and we can talk about that. But what I wanted to say is the word plantation. When you use the word plantation, a lot of my research is done. How did they do this? How did they come over and take over everything? So one was what I believe was this deliberately caused cataclysm that just and simultaneously just spread throughout the grids and caused the Earth to ripple and buckle. And that's where you get the weird layouts of cities with, one of the building being up high and the other building, you can't see the windows. Just that's everywhere. Where I live now has got tons of great examples of that. So that was one part of it, creating this cataclysm so they could go in and take everything over. And when they colonized, early colonization was called plantation. And that's what they were doing. They were going in and they were planting on top of everything else, the original civilization. They were enslaving the original people and everybody else, but those in particular, true owners of the land. And then that whole system is brutal, no matter where on Earth it took place. The plantation system is brutal. And so is the mill system. The mill system is bad too. Work in the fields, they were probably more physically involved, but the treatment was, whipping and solitary and whatever else. And the same thing in the workhouses of the 19th and 20th centuries. Same kind of thing, 16-hour days, subsistence rate wages, company owns everything or whatever. So they put this system, that's part of the system of slavery they imposed on humanity.
Yeah.
When they came in, they set up the system, they rigged the system to only benefit them so they could reap all of the profits and take everything from everybody. I think, Chad, you pointed out the word weekend is like weekend.
Weekend,
You know.
man.
At the end of the work week, you're a weekend.
Yeah, get weak during the week and then you're weakened. What about retire? Like you get tired for your whole career and then at the end you get to be retired.
Yeah.
That's it. Everything you've earned.
Everything you earn, yeah, which is where they put the ashes of dead people.
Yeah.
So that kind of gets back to all of us being MK Ultra.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we believe their system because we see it like we're programmed, right?
Yes.
I've been thinking about this a lot recently. Is we can that's filters, right? They've literally put filters on us, so we're not actually seeing reality. Like for what we're supposed to see, we're seeing this filtered version, and now, a lot of it we're seeing like we're doing now, right, through this electronic filter as well, which again changes everything. So it's, we've got to get our eyes back, right? Like, it's in all the books, right? Those with eyes, will see, and all this kind of stuff. All these, so we're definitely all MK Ultra and programmed, And I think you've got to realize that before you can change it.
Hang on.
Majority of us, we watch the older mid-age generation. We watch those videos, MTV in 80s, it's there. And I think it's lifetime work to get it out and to actually see the realistic picture.
Yeah.
With all what's in front of us. So my question would be, with what happened at Maui, I just can't let go of that story for some reason. Some saying there is a heart chakra at Maui of Earth. I don't know. Some say it's in England. Theories out there, but for me, there is something about this. I just keep watching. I find a beautiful lady who speaks. She's originally from Hawaii, but she lives, I think, in mainland now. And she really realistically and in a calm way, she explains what's going on a political level and, all those games. And I just can't let go. It's like turning point for me. It's like it touches me and it hurts me in a way, deeper than everything that happens before. And what I'm thinking with knowledge of resets, and is it that they truly, with Maui and everything that's happening now all over the place, are they intensifying reset? Is this next level of it, next stage? And if so, I think we are standing in really interesting point here. We know what's happening, which is really good, but it might bring some responsibility if we want to take it. And I think with what we're doing, what you guys are doing, that's it, taking responsibility and bring it out to greater awareness of humanity. So I'm wondering, is there anything, maybe superpower, Chad, maybe, stranger things? Is there anything else we could do to prevent it, to help life, to turn this story around? And my big desire would be to bring our grid back. I want to go back home. And most of my life, I thought it's somewhere else on some other planet because I just did not, as many of us, did not belong here. But more and more, I'm traveling Australia for past 3 years with my partner. I spend times in national parks and beautiful places, and I just know this is my home. This is programming too. Make me believe I'm somewhere from, some distant somewhere, whatever.
Spinning boat. Prison planet, yeah, man, it's a scam.
Those trees are my friends, and this ocean that is so kind to me, that gives me so much healing and enjoyment and play, and we go snorkel, we go dive, we hanging with with fish, with life. I'm not going anywhere. They can go to Mars or wherever. This is my home. So with all of that having in mind, and is there anything else we could do? Superpowers, whatever works, I don't mind. I'm sure we have, all of us, we got them within. When you deprogram yourself, I see my life on my micro scale. I see how it could work. And I believe it's same on macro, same principles. And more of us, merrier. It's co-creation. It's not competition, it's co-creation. And when we realize that and connect and start to, to do things together, I think the power just multiplies and we can do lots of stuff.
Sure. I'm just going to run to the toilet quickly. I'll be back.
Yeah. So any thoughts on my child dream?
Lots.
Yeah. You want to start, Chad?
Well, first of all, in terms of a plan, I think it comes to us as it's needed and as when. Everything that comes to me comes almost in this divine manner, like it's already planned. And a lot of the time I'm unaware of it. And I feel the next stage, and whether there's anything more divine as you're asking or super, it will be revealed slowly. But it'll come, and it all works in a beautiful way. And I love how you can see the beauty on earth underneath the narrative, because I truly believe that this is a beautiful place too, and it is. I feel it. What's happened, the narrative makes it a horrible, nasty place, and everyone has turned on the earth. And then as a turn, lack of care, lack of compassion, lack of empathy for humanity, the earth, everything. Because the way that it is, and that's not the world, that's the narrative that is placed on the world and the system and construction that is man-made. So, but in terms of what we can do now is do what we do in Tara, connecting, spreading awareness, and most importantly, empowering ourselves to the extent. I know many of us haven't got the time to go and meditate and all of this with everything going on in the world, but we should have control of ourselves from external influence, and the way they've manipulated us and turned us into modern day slaves without actually chaining us up is through our mind, through the programming, in my opinion. So when they prompt something, we go run out and buy it. We've got no real control of ourselves. And until we stop going out and supporting these corporations that are destroying the world, it's never going to end, is it? So we have got a lot of power, but we need to do as a team. So we can change things, but we need to do that by pulling together. First, that comes as empowering the self, waking up and helping others. And that's my step. And there is something higher. It's within me. So and I never disrespect God, and people always misinterpret me, and it's not. It's just because it's within me. It's everywhere. It's within you. It's in Michelle. I see it in every person. So it's in the trees. The trees are like beautiful versions of it. Like you can really feel it in those, and nature itself and animals. Because what it is, there's no ego on top necessarily. No programming. No artificialness. It's completely real, isn't it? So that we feel that,
just that innocence, right?
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I've believed for a long time that they're not going to get away with what they've done.
Yeah.
And so I think we're witnessing their end, and they are intensifying it because they want to put all their plans in place at once. Well, that was never their plan. their plan was to ease it out over, their 2030 and, whatever, we're going to have this in place. Well, what they're doing is they're unloading it all at one time. And so there's more people that are waking up to it. Because they only have one play in their playbook. They play it really well, death and destruction and, whatever they've been working on to dumb us down and poison us and mock humanity. Very arrogant beings. I don't believe that are human. And so they've just got this one thing left, and they're throwing their Hail Mary. And honestly, I think they're on their way out. And so we just get to watch that on social media, and I don't watch television. So for me on social media, knowing that a lot of people that I love and care about in my family aren't awake, they've been completely brainwashed and don't see the threat. But I think the good side is it's going to be intensifying.
Yes.
And I think that's going to pick up steam. And there was something important that Chad shared in an email with me when he was in Tenerife. And in the middle of the night, he was visited by the spirit of Mount Taita, right? Right, the place. And got a good message out of that, if you want to share that, Chad.
Yeah. For the spiritual believers out there, this one. The spirit of the island visited me. What I felt like was the spirit of the island, a mother, just comforted and explained to me so many things about the island, showed me as a vision and give me so much. But a lot of it's in my Tenerife video about the decode of the name Tenerife and the island being a tree and the falling of it, and then other islands that were connected to that tree. But the most important thing I think I took from it was that these trees can be brought back somehow, and they're still alive. They're not dead. It's what you were talking about, Tara. It felt that that's what was going to come somehow, some magical, divine something, and it's going to transform them. But we've got a part to play in that still. Yeah. And again, it's like one bit of a time for me. It's never to give you everything. It's just one little bit, and that was just telling me that they're still alive. We've got parts to play, and they can come back. And I told Michelle, because it sounded crazy in a way, but it sounded beautiful, and it made sense in another way. You think of all the myths and everything seems to get defeated and come back, and it comes back. It's the story of creation and destruction anyway, so it has to come back. And I
mentioned that, right? I mean, obviously, a lot's been destroyed, painfully, painful to know about it. I mean, once you wake up, it's like, holy cow. But it's to say, hope is not lost.
Yeah.
We're seeing everything that the corrupt, entrenched deep state has left to throw at us. Things they've already had planned, with a population that's waking up more every day, that don't believe the mainstream media anymore.
Yeah.
Especially about what happened in Maui. And then you get people like Oprah and Rock begging for people to donate money for the survivors of the fire, and people are like, F you. They know. People know about the blue painted houses and things like that, and Chad did a video about that. And before they did it in darkness, they couldn't see it happening real time. Now it's like everybody has a front row seat And
Yeah.
most people aren't mind controlled to the extent that they can't see the truth when it's right there. As hard as the mainstream media says, don't believe what you're seeing, believe what we tell you. Most people are beyond that. I mean, they can figure it out, especially when it hits them personally.
That's the difficult.
Especially when they see cops blocking the people of Maui or Lahaina from,
That's just,
forcing them into the water. I mean, and so when that kind of evidence comes out, this was not a natural occurrence. And more people know that there's no way that was a natural occurrence. You've got people that are going to believe that, but my 84-year-old mother is going to believe that. But most people are going to be able to see what's really wrong with that. And I don't think we're alone in this. I do believe we have help. And
absolutely.
in the background, and that there are very well planned, long planned events playing out, but I think it's being allowed to play out a certain way to wake more people up. And so I don't think it's random. I don't think they have the power they used to have. I think it's getting less all the time, and they're getting exposed all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the Prime Minister of Victoria State just stepped down. I don't know the full meaning of that, but it sounded like good news.
Yeah.
The Prime Minister of Canada got caught with a plane load of drugs. It's coming out that he was high. He was high for 2 days. That was in India at the G20.
Wow. And they
things
just
like that.
Like the whole, can I say the word, the NAZI that they took into Parliament the other day.
Yeah.
Did you see that?
That's funny.
So they're messing with our minds, right? Like all this stuff. But I agree that they're losing and they're getting desperate. So they're just upping their game.
Mm-hmm.
And if we understand that it's just all a show, it's not real. Like it's all, it's kind of the reverse way that we see it. Like things don't necessarily happen. They put it out there, and then if enough of us focus on it, we make it happen, right? It's like I always put it like it's when I was young and we used to have like the music, the top 100 songs and records and things. And I used to think that number one was the one that sold the most records or, the most whatever in that week. And then now I realize it's not that way. They give you the one that they want to be number one. Everyone believes it's number one. So they all go out and buy it, and it becomes like it's all inverted, right?
Yeah. That's how rappers get famous.
Did miss.
You fake it before you make it, innit? You put on all this bling and all the cars and
Yep.
So there's a lot more coming out about people, especially the people in government, the people in power that have, tried to keep their tyranny and, their citizens, keeping them oppressed, and, all the kinds of things that have been going on in the last couple of years. They've been able to do it, but they, it's like they can't hold it onto that anymore because more and more information's coming out. And I've heard that too, Cambell. It's a show. We're watching a show.
It's a complete show, yeah.
Yeah. And it's more
and so it's
more and more obvious. Like
and it's the unveiling, right? Like we said, the apocalypse, but like a lot of people think that things are getting worse and worse and worse. But I think a big part of that is it's not that it's worse. It's we're actually seeing what's been going on the whole time. That's what the unveiling is.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. So like with this
That's
Maui
what I say to my nan.
Yeah. So Maui's so in people's consciousness because we're seeing what they actually do behind the scenes. But that doesn't mean that every other disaster that we see wasn't the exact same, right? We were just given a narrative on the TV or whatever of something different happening, and we all bought it. Now we're seeing what has actually gone on the whole time.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean nothing's going on to address Maui. We may not know exactly what it is, but it doesn't mean it just happened and they're allowed to get away with it.
Yeah.
You know, so you know, it's just not a public matter at this point, but it may very well be at some point in the future, hopefully near future. So it's not just happening randomly. And you know, just seeing it. I mean, that Lahaina is the ancient capital of Hawaii.
Yeah.
You know,
Is
and
it?
the Hawaiians are sovereign, and so
Yeah, they
it was
have, yeah.
you know, it was a punch at all of that. We want the land. You know, these are ancient sovereign people. They're the royalty of Hawaii. And, you know, the Lahaina Banyan, as Chad mentioned in his video, was a victim of the fire, though I did see something where people are still looking after it.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah,
a
it
couple
might
weeks
come
ago, but they're still working on it. But you know, again, there's just so many things to take into consideration. But a message that I would want to leave us in our conversation is just don't lose hope.
Yeah. No.
We on an individual level can make a difference. And as things start to become more visible about what's really going on, there are things we can do, connecting consciousness,
yeah,
to help heal each other, the grid. You know, there's mass meditation, group meditation. I mean, there's different ways this can be done, but there's a lot of people that work with the light to heal, and it's not a lost cause whatsoever.
No.
I don't think you invited us here to say that.
No.
Or end on that note.
Not at all.
I certainly don't believe that, and you know, we just have to stay strong because it's hard to see what's going on. You know, and you know, seeing that tree in England at Hadrian's Wall chopped down the other day, it's like, just stop already.
Yeah.
It's like God in physical form, and God can't go anywhere. You know, at least if we wanted to get us away, we could, but these trees can't. And they're channeling, you know, source energy. And if you look at the whole idea of Yggdrasil and Earth as a plane and the giant tree, I think that's real.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
that's totally real.
What's taking over, right? The black rock.
Yeah.
Right. Rufus nigra, which is what they say. So did they chop that tree down and it became a black stump, like the black rock? And because that's everywhere, right? Especially, you know, the Rock and Oprah came out, and the whole Burning Man that was in the news recently.
Yeah.
That town that they built is called Black Rock City.
And guess what the Rock slogan is? Guess what the Rock is cooking? Can you smell what the Rock is cooking? I used to watch him. So that was his slogan.
Can you smell
I was doing a decode on him, actually, Campbell, and you write with all the rock, and there's so much because of the cross and the rock Rockefellers. You know, you've got a lot to do with the rock. And then obviously trees are rocks, trees. You know, there's a huge correlation between rocks and trees. So
yeah, trees become rocks basically, don't they?
Yeah.
And you know, since you mentioned Rupert Murdoch, I saw the other day where he stepped down from Fox.
Oh, did he? Gosh, I need to watch news. I'm so out of the loop. Wow.
So I mean, so there's stuff going on.
Yeah, well, this is the thing. They're not going to show us and promote this kind of stuff, right? And it's you know, I've been saying it for a while, like what's happened with this, a big part of this, you know, waking up kind of thing. The unfortunate part is that they're losing all this viewership on the media and TV. Yeah. But what they're pushing as truth, right, on YouTube is all these people that are just showing you the news and commentating on it, right? Or reacting to it. And I'm sitting there thinking, so now it's getting watched 3 times as much, and everyone thinks that they're waking up. It's so, basically whatever they tell us, it's a good rule of thumb is if they tell you to do something, do the opposite. Whatever they're telling you, it's the opposite of what's going on, right?
Yeah.
Though I do get I do get my news from social media, Twitter and things like that.
Me too.
Or X or whatever it's called.
X, I know, right? X marks.
I trust that more. I trust that more than anywhere else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But guys, if we looked at this, I know it sounds weird, as an opposite reverse version of Peter Pan. And the reason I say that, because there's so many connotations with Pan being linked to the devil. I think I showed that in one of my Christmas videos and different names associated. But what Cambell said about the illusion and the narrative, it's illusion, it's narrative. When you stop believing in it, you can't go there anymore. You go back home. Do you know what I mean? So we got to look at that as the opposite. They're saying that Neverland's this beautiful place and everything. Let's just look at it in this analogy. Neverland is their narrative. Neverland is believing in their story. So it's it's about us.
And Superman and Bizarro World. And I was just thinking, when you're talking about Pan, what did we just go through, right? The pandemic, pandemonic. It was pandemonium, don't you know?
There you go, brother. Well done. Bang on.
Yeah. What I think is, and feel, am I too loud?
No,
you're good.
All right. Is what's happening for me, what helps, and what I feel is, for me, is the right way to go. It's sinking more and more into the communication with the grid. I spend so much time in nature, in trees, even at work. I have a lots of break. I spend a lot of time sitting under the trees that I showed you before. And communication plays important part of it. I become part of it. And with that awareness that I'm not outside, which MK Ultra, which we mentioned, would want me to believe, to be detached, to feel like a visitor. I'm not a part of it. When I fall into that, when things are in alignment and I link, I connect with trees, with the pyramids around me, with that intense energy field, I think that's something that builds me up, and that's something that returns me home, if that makes sense. And I never said that publicly. There's only few people that know. I talk to trees big time. I spend 10 hours a day. Sometimes there is 44. There were days that were 44. So when you go through like a bit of challenge, you get yourself into when you win that, like struggle with the heat and, being bored at work and all of that, I get into what some say called second wind. It's something happened to my mind and I become very receptive. And I talk to trees every single day. They tell me stories. I think they keep memory of all grid. Even though they are plantation trees, they know. And I think trees communicate with each other. And I think they play so important role in all of this. So, we're just part of it. And clear communication going on for those who can hear. Aboriginals have a beautiful word which says dadiri. I love it. It says deep listening. So you get quiet and you listen. And you actually hear, and then you can talk. Because it's different, right? Obviously. Trees don't talk like we do. They have different ways. Like, I play a lot of music when I'm at work, a lot of classical music. They love it. They absolutely love it. And once I was listening flute, beautiful flute, and my phone was kind of loud, And I kind of ask, is this too loud for you? And it's hard to explain how this works. Tree bends to me on my ear and whisper. It's not in reality, obviously. It's different kind of dimension, how you experience that. And says, what the flute is made of? And I'm like, timber, right. And then that opens whole violins, piano, flutes, so much music, so many instruments made of. And then I went discover we have certain type of acacia implantation and sandalwood tree. And I went to explore if there is any music instruments that are made of those kind of timber of trees. And there are. And they sound exactly as I would think, the way I hear them. Acacia have a different type of sound. The way I hear them, it's exactly the way the instrument, it's similarity in how I experience them, in how the instrument sounds. I could talk on stories on trees, and because they are a live part of the grid. So is water, so is pyramids, so is rocks. But trees are, that aliveness as us. With, I think, if that makes any sense. So I just really want to make gratefulness to trees, recognition to trees,
I was just in awe listening to you. That's all you can ask for, Dora. At the end of the day, that connection that you have found can bring so much, I'm almost in awe when I hear that people also have because I have what you have. I have this connection.
That's why I told you. I recognize that, and I say, yeah.
And there's little things in your people you can see, like mastery, and it's just beautiful, isn't it? But you're obviously like a tree whisperer. Beautiful. I would like to get you on the show to talk more about trees.
Oh, thank you. Would love to. Thanks.
But if I could just add what you were talking about with finding the silence and things like that. That was my route, and that's the only way I know to find what you were talking about, is by turning off the thoughts. You can take whatever method you like, but I basically took a combination of all types of methods and used my own. But go in, turn off the thoughts, still it down, quiet, and somehow when you make that connection, when you've made it. I feel like we may always have a little connection to it, but you feel it, after, and it's, but it's the only way to do it, go within, and it's really hard to do that, and turn off external influence and have the discipline to not want certain things and not listen to the mind and overcome it and fight your demons. Go back into the trauma of yourself, and find where you're hurting, where's dark. And as you say, for each person, it can take a lot of time, but some of us are more lucky than others, and others are not, but it's a tough journey. I call it the hero's journey, the internal one, because we have to overcome all of it. So fair play to you.
Yeah.
And that's what needs to be done in my eyes, what you've done. So that's the advice Tara has just given is the most perfect advice.
Thank you.
Yeah, and mycelium, right? That's like the whole mycelium network, I think, is probably the communication between trees, right? We've got this massive network under the ground that no one knows is there, and everything is in communication with each other, and we've just got to tune in, right? We're just tuned into the wrong station, the wrong frequency.
That's it. And that's another reason they've been attacked so viciously.
Yes.
Chad, correct me if I'm wrong, but I saw something where a lot of those towers were coming down in Great Britain because citizens were getting fed up with it, just bringing it down.
They're pulling them down.
Yeah. That's a good one.
Have you seen that?
Yep.
The 5G towers and things. The 5G towers and stuff that some people are just putting them down, and they way to go.
It's happening. It feels like it's happening, doesn't it? There's an awakening happening. There's a quickening happening. I don't know if anyone's ever watched Highlander, when the quickening happens and it all kinds of speeds up. It's on both sides.
Kelly talking quickening. Sorry, I'm a friend. Quickening.
So it's light and dark, both quickening.
Yeah.
And
There
you
could
mentioned
be
the
only
hero's
one.
journey. I think it's humanity's part of this hero's journey too.
Mm.
You know,
That's
which
the
may be
micro,
why,
macro.
yeah, which is probably why it's like, why is this happening? Why is this being allowed to happen? But you know, people don't change unless things are extreme.
Yeah.
So
yeah, man.
unless
If
they got a
everything was
reason.
perfect, what's the point, right? What would we learn? If we've got everything we wanted, like what would we do? You know, we'd probably sit around and become bored, bad people. You need a bit of need some challenges.
Yeah. And if you think you have eternity on your plate, you know, times and times and times, you want to go in all kind of different experiences, I think. Like, even to be in a heaven all the time and everything is perfect, and there is that perfect architecture and everything is just fine. I think with time might get a bit boring, and then we're looking for trouble. The next thing you know, you are in it like big time, and then you awaken. All right, enough now. Can we turn this around?
Yeah, I think everything's like a fractal, right? Like the greater world is what most of us are going through internally on our own, you know, hero's journey is what's happening in the external world. So that's why if we take it back and change, you know, learn our lessons, because there's all this, you know, stuff about, you know, shadow work and going through to finding your dark places. And the way to get them out is you have to expose them first, right?
Yeah.
And that's what's happening on the world stage. So it's, you know, yeah, I mean, to anyone watching, I wouldn't read it as that means everything's getting bad. It's just being thrown up so we can deal with it, heal it, and go forward.
Yeah.
Boom. Bang on. Yeah. And that's the paradox of it, isn't it? You know what I mean? When we're just all saying we accept the dark, we accept the light, we understand we need this, so we learn from it. But it's two-tone. It's there's one element of the narration going on and them controlling that. We're not, but what we're talking about something finer, you know, just for everybody watching.
Yeah.
But it's a funny paradox that we find ourselves in, isn't it? We're going through a cycle of the creation, destruction. I think part of the journey of the self is understanding the balance of life and duality, isn't it? The light and the dark. And I think that's what you've highlighted so great. People listening, it might be a confusion, I feel, because it's a paradox. You know, there's the narration on top of the light and dark in the world. We understand light and dark. Animals eat each other. There's night and day. That's night. That's it. Not the controlled manipulation of people and a plotted,
yes,
premeditated story. That's different. Do you know what I mean? That's it's such a fine line, but I just wanted to highlight that. For me, that's what it is. It's, you know.
Yeah.
And then how to arrive at love at the end of that controlled, premeditated story, because that's what our destination is.
Yes.
Is love and the heart.
Yes.
And non-judgment.
Yeah.
And you want to judge. You want to be angry and mad.
So maybe
and
this
upset.
is the test, as Campbell's saying, you know, the test. We're going through this, and everybody wants to.
Yeah. I mean, maybe this is all happening for us, right? Instead of to us. So, you know, it's just a shift in your thinking and looking, you know, for options, I guess. It's like we're told everything is cause and effect, but that's not true at all. Like you never get a cause that produces the same effect. All you have is potential, right? So they teach us that there's this cause and effect thing, but really, you know, it's like when we goal set, right? And we want something, it never turns out the way we think it will.
Yes.
It's always, you know, similar, same emotion, maybe same feeling, but you know, it's only all potential. So if all we've got is potential, then all we can do is create what we want, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And an example I like to give, because I've been pretty awake for a while. And so it's taking too long. At least it feels like it is. You know, when you've been awake for 10 years, it's like at least that. At least that.
Oh man, try.
Hurry up. But I know from my own experience that in the United States, the 2016 election really scared me. And it was shortly after that that I moved to Sedona. And from the moment I arrived here, synchronicity just kicked right in. And I got a job in a crystal shop, and people just started showing up in the crystal shop that were important on my journey. And I mean, me working in a crystal shop, I mean, that was miraculous in and of itself. I mean, I probably knew more than the average person, but not much. But it was where I needed to be. And other people were coming into my life that I needed to come into my life so I could start doing what I've been doing for the last 5 years. And it's like I needed to be there at that moment in time for all this other stuff to start happening. That was like divine timing and things like that. Highly synchronistic. And I'm just saying that because if you want to take it from a doom and gloom standpoint, oh my gosh, but you take it from a spiritual standpoint, it's a lot easier to put everything in place. It's like, okay, I needed to be here at this time, meet these people, do what I'm doing. I have the support of the universe, if you will, to do it. And, and it just keeps going out from there. We all make choices about our level of involvement.
Yeah.
And I think we're called to do this work at a more in-depth, intense level. Maybe Earth mission, soul mission, whatever you want to call it. Because what we're doing is just as important to the other people that are doing all of the exposing of all the deep, dark, dirty secrets. That's not my thing.
Yeah.
Chad, you did an excellent job, tackling that. But it's not, that's not your typical thing either. At least not like that.
No,
Don't get into the, we don't get into the other exposés that other people are doing.
Yeah.
And that's all important too.
Yeah.
So it just kind of comes out. And it seems like people find it when they're ready, whatever aspect of it. Because there's very few people that I know that I can talk to about this. Very few.
We're growing in number though. Slowly we're getting there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, but that's the thing. Like it's kind of like you must feel the same. Like it's almost like you feel like it's destined. Like we don't have a choice, right? We're being pushed down this path, and
Exactly.
my life in the last 3 years has been crazy. but I've ended
No choice at all.
Yeah.
No, and I've ended up in country New South Wales in the middle of nowhere, pretty much. And there's just all these people like popping up that are like 5 minutes away. Like it's crazy. Like I just met this lady, Maggie. I'll have to talk to you about it at some point, Michelle. And she's got this whole math system tied in with geometry and this whole. It's just incredible. And she's literally 5 minutes down the road. She's like this 70-year-old Polish lady who's been studying maths and geometry and physics, and it's all free. It's this like, how does that even happen, right? It's synchronicities are cool.
Yeah, so many.
Definitely.
They're running my life for some time now. It's just.
You just got to give up and go with the flow at some point, I think.
That's what it is. And on your way, I think I mentioned that to Cambell before. You all mentioned hero's journey. One of the most important outcomes is friendship. And then again, this is overcoming MK Ultra or any other kind of programming, which is, that person beside you, it's enemy, it's bad, it's, just stay away. This or other way. Don't, if you go to friendship or whatever it is, deeper relationships, it might hurt, it will hurt if you risk. And I think where we are now is just overcoming this. And what we're doing now also, we are on a different parts of the world. I met Cambell in person. I met you guys online. It doesn't matter. You resonate with me. And it's like instant, when you just know those people, they're my kind. I'm over 50 years old. I spend my life looking for my tribe. Another day I'm thinking, I know I found the people who, we all in a way, we were different, I believe, as a kids also. Many people, the things that were happening in your head, everybody would think you weird. And now suddenly, there are other weird people, who make a lot of sense,
Yeah.
Looks like life works in a contradiction. All of a sudden, those weirdos are, for me, the most sane people I know. So friendship, and thank you for sharing this moment with me. And, we keep going, and we might know each other from before. Who knows? How?
Yeah. We'll have to get these two to Bosnia. I mean, this is the thing. Like, I just, randomly met Tara. She just happened to send me a message, and she was passing through, and it was just before I was about to leave. And now we've got a big thing coming up in next year. Like, she's organized this big trip, and we're going to get a lot of people together, like-minded people, and talk and have amazing times. So you never know what's around the corner, right? It's just all through these connections. And so, just when things feel right, I think just go with them. But yes, the big announcements coming up about trips to pyramids and things and star forts, and
Yeah.
Well, keep
you
us
guys will have to
posted.
come.
We will.
I'd love to.
Yeah.
I think putting it out. Yeah, we go 17 days. We go Bosnian pyramids, and we go Serbia. Then we go Dubrovnik, which is Croatia, Montenegro.
Wow.
Really, that's my home. That's where my ancestors, my family is from Bosnia. So, my roots. And there is something about, like, every single part of the world, like Australia and US and England, but Balkans, this is why all those wars, and all that tension all the time. There is so much about that place, so much in a culture. I think a lot of that memory of our grid and civilizations we're talking about, it can be found within Slavic cultures, which I'm part of.
Yep.
So,
and that seems to be part of the human story. And we're talking about healing the trees and the grids and the human story.
Yes.
With that whole mess over in Yugoslavia.
Yeah.
It's like that was all orchestrated by the
absolutely.
cabal or whoever.
I was there 100%.
And
I was young then. Yes. Sorry.
Well, I've done a lot of research on modern history, looking at patterns and seeing the repeating patterns, of how South Korea was divided, and one was communist and one was capitalist, and then they fight each other and then go in and bomb it. And then same thing happened in Vietnam. They divide it. They caused the problem. But I bring that up because when I talked about what was going on in Yugoslavia in the early 1990s, and I honestly, I'm like everybody else. I don't have insider knowledge about what really happened. All I can do is look at what the historical record says and pull it out and look at patterns. And that's all I can do.
Yeah.
Because I don't know I know it's been manipulated. I just don't have that information as to how. And so when I was putting that into context, and it was sequentially, going each year, and this is what happened, and this is, all the tornadoes and the earthquakes and the hurricanes and civil wars, because that's how they've, that's part of the MK Ultra thing, big time. Mm-hmm. It's like it went global. I graduated from high school in the States in 1981. prior to that time, it was primarily civil wars, fighting, pitting people against each other in Africa and in different places around the world. In 1980, 81, it went global. And that was when you started to have the terrorist bombings, the planes blowing up out of the sky, discotheques being bombed, soccer stadiums being burned, with people in them. It was like this could happen to anybody at any time, and getting that fear going. So in my mind, 1980, 1981 is when it went global. And then in Yugoslavia, I was getting a lot of really heated comments from people that lived through it, and say, no, that's not the way that it was. It's like, well, okay, I'm sorry, but very passionate.
Yeah, well, that's what we are. That's
very passionate, and I'm, but like I try to say, I don't know, when you get what happened between the Muslims and the Christians and the Bosnian, the whole 9 yards, how everybody was pitted against each other.
Yeah.
And so
I so know what you're talking about. And later on, sorry to interrupt, I had a bit of research on the background and how it all happens. It's so obvious. And what happens after, and what's happening today, how they divide us to little countries, how they destroy education system, how they destroy, they bring in trash food, trash music. We have beautiful food, beautiful burgers, and then they brought in McDonald's. When I first time I saw it, I was used to like real thing, like Bosnian style, Turkish, rich, and then we went first time, we thinking, what's, after communism, what's McDonald's? And we got there is that little thing, like, okay, what's this? Like, but you see, people bought it, and I'm not saying communism was good, it was bad. It's just different kind of bad what we have now. But in past 20, 30 years, the declining in intelligence, in values, in countries like Serbia particularly is under the attack on this one. They have so much trash TV, so much reality shows. It's just that decline. But then on the other side, so many awakened people, like channels are doing so well, like so many different, it's always like one side gets strong, the other side gets too, right? So, and all the happening around pyramids and Osmanagij, and it's all connected. So, and regarding to Bosnian pyramids and Dr. Sam Osmanagij, which he find them, and he's really doing great job in promotion. And there is one of the pyramids is called Pyramid of Love, and he said that one interview that's why he named it so. It's because we need love in Balkans to bring us together again, to realize that we are all Slavic and that we are all people, that we are not Slovenian, Croatian. We are, but deeper down, we one. We everybody understand. We understand each other languages. We are so mixed. It's one nation anyway. And so he's Muslim. That's his heritage. And he went into Serbian Republic, part of Bosnia, which is under Serbian Serbian part, whatever. So, and he's walking with his wife on a street. And grandmas, which is mostly Serbians, grandmas coming from backyards and just saying hello to them and hugging and saying thank you. And you see, that's the message of love. They forgot that he's a Muslim, that he's a guy that talks funny things, that there is everybody thought he was crazy. Now he brought so much to Bosnia that I think 2 million people visit pyramids last year. I was there in the very beginning of the story, like a few years after his announcement, and it was after war. It was very poor area, and now it's thriving, whole area. It's not just for him, it's Oh, my partner, that's son coming as he opened the door. Sorry. So, and he's sharing that message of love. And I think pyramid helps. All the pyramid, they help.
Mhm.
And there is a great potential there to, so many people get to understand, so many people get to visit pyramid and see, yes, that really works. I feel better. I'm healed. I'm, whatever. So that's my thoughts on.
Definitely keep us
Cool.
posted on your plans. I don't know if it's something I'd be able to do, but if there's any way I can, I would definitely be
Yeah, we'll
interested.
send you a link for it, and by the time this goes up, there'll probably be a link below, guys, for anyone watching if you want to check it out. But this is the
Yeah.
thing, like connection and love is obviously the answer, because all they try and do is divide, right? It's like that whole area used to be one country, and then they just go in and they split it up and split it up and split it up and just create divisions and
Right.
divisions and divisions. But yeah, I think in the end, and that's why we're not supposed to believe that there's, like an ether or like any other kind of realities or anything, all this kind of woo-woo stuff that they love to call it. It's real, right? But we get programmed to think that's not real, and all that's real is what they tell us. So, because that's connected us, right? If there's an ether, then it's something that's connecting us all. If there's, Mother Nature and this energy, then we're all connected, and they don't want us to figure that out.
Yeah.
And I've experienced it. Tara experiences, you two experience it. It's how we get our stuff. It's the base of us all. I often say I'm not human. It's not my blood that connects us. It's the consciousness. It's more. I see me in all of you. We're all in each other. And as you've all pointed out, the division is everything. And it's smaller. They've gone into everything. All of our football teams, all of our religions, all of just everything. First of all, they swipe out all the natural culture. So everything from your country, they just take that, and then they put you into this system. And then this system of division, they want you to support this football team, so you're against your mate. If you ain't arguing about your football team, you're arguing about the program you like to watch. If it's not the program you like to watch, it's this political view. It's this type of food. It's where it's it's just one thing. It's everything, isn't it? It's black v white or red v blue.
Yep.
We need to merge those colors, and I think that's what we're doing. And I think what you said, Tara, about the pyramids and things, I think that's what almost these trees and these pyramids can act as. It's like this bringing together of energy, this oneness, and we all crave that, don't we, deep down? Because we all can feel it.
Yeah. Well, look at the shape of a pyramid, right? It takes the four corners and turns them into one point. So it connects things, right?
Yeah. Do you think they were all around the place, all around the grid? Because I see them everywhere.
They are.
Yep,
They
100%.
still are. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
That's it. Everywhere is so important. There seems to be more sacred places, but the world's covered in them. It's like you can't say the UK is the most. It's not, and it's like it's just everywhere I look across the world, I see these important sacred places. So I never, when people say to me, "I've got to go to Egypt to go to the pyramids to do this and that," in my eyes, you don't need to. You can go to any of these points on the grid and connect to the grid entirely. It's not a game where you have to go and tick off each one. You connect to one fully, you would connect to the whole thing.
And Chad, something I got from you is the connection between the giant trees and the pyramids. Being
what I saw in the parks in Australia, always where there are giant tree stumps, they're pyramid shapes. That's what I found. Sorry to interrupt, but yeah.
No, I was just going to say, I see that where I live here in Arizona.
Yeah.
There's a big mining town called Jerome, which is kind of higher up than the surrounding area, and something called the Black Hills. Jerome is, it's called Cleopatra Hill, but it's clearly a pyramid. And there's a pyramid next to it, but there's a big mine next to it. The open pit kind you see a lot in Australia. And I didn't make, for most of the time that I've been here, I didn't have the tree connection. And once Chad made that for me, and the relationship between the giant trees and gold and silver and, the production of these resources, then I could see it. And so I'm just bringing that up because there does seem to be a connection between pyramids and giant trees.
Yeah.
And personally, I believe there was some kind of relationship between the ancient builders and the trees. Some kind of relationship that was beneficial and creative.
Yeah.
Tara, sorry.
Yeah. So do you think pyramids, are they gathering energy? I know, Chad, you have a lot of understanding on grid and how it could possibly work. Do you think, what's the role of pyramid?
Well, when I've looked at the old Egypt maps, the way it seems is they're literally built on top of these tree stumps.
Yes.
They're almost carved out of them.
I've seen that.
I saw that. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So as Cambell highlighted, the four corners into one, I think that's key. I really feel that the shape is key, but I think it's more to do with the placement of them, the placement mixed with the shape. So
so acupuncture.
Yeah.
And these giant trees also have astronomical alignments.
Yeah.
So they line up with the sun, solstices and lunar, all kind. They're mapping out. Everything on Earth is mapping out these astronomical events. Everything,
which makes sense because the sun's the ultimate power source, right?
And connectors, they connect. Sun,
yeah, well,
Earth.
Dr. Sam Osmanovic, is that how I say it? He studies the Bosnian pyramid, and they've taken in scientific teams, and they've detected that it is shooting a big beam of energy out the top of it. And I've forgotten what the frequency was, but they've worked it out, and they say it's basically around like a communication frequency.
Wow.
So like it's putting out, so that there could be like a big communication network, which would be, would make sense if they're built near where the giant trees were, because they were the original kind of like network, right? And so they're using that same energy point, and just because we have the story, right, that the fallen angels came and chopped down all the trees, and so that then people have probably gone in, found the places, and tried to rebuild the grid around there. But yeah, the trees are definitely being attacked, aren't they? Even the Celtic, the Druids and things.
Yeah,
they got rid of them by cutting down all their trees, right?
Right, and again, there's a lot of discernment, but what I think, because I'm still a proponent that this whole original civilization was built by the same civilization. Yeah. Different empires within that, but the same civilization. Yeah. And it was all connected. They knew where they were on the earth.
Yep.
They knew who they knew there wasn't any confusion about whether the earth was flat or round, no confusion about what they were doing here, spiritual beings, physical beings connecting with their spiritual natures. They knew how to work with these trees and, like said, create the pyramids from the trees somehow, which is what I was talking about with that, some kind of relationship.
Yeah.
But I think, again, I think I'm landing on the side of one event of a gigantic energy surge through the grid system and what we're saying it was probably like simultaneous is what caused this, the grids to fry out and cause great changes in the earth. And the idea of simultaneous, the idea of we're fractals, the four of us are connected in the same moment. I mean,
Yeah.
We're together as one being.
Yeah.
Having our different experiences. That whole idea that everything is one gigantic, connected, locally connected system. And they've been able to cause us to forget that by educating us that, that's not even possible. And, we're all having our separate experiences. But we're all, intrinsically connected. Everybody. Like,
just on that point,
Chad
Michelle, you know how I feel you're so right with what you've just said? It's because we all know that the blackout is going to come again artificially in terms of the electricity, you know what I mean? And the blackout. So again, it's following this natural artificial, isn't it? If that happened with our trees, it makes sense it's going to repeat itself artificially. Do you know what I'm trying to say? In the exact same type of manner. And it's already happened once. And I can kind of see exactly what you're saying. It's a surge, and the trees, and you rebuild, and then it comes again. But it's almost like it's repeated or artificially repeated, at least anyway. Almost like a mocking. Isn't that weird? A mocking, a grand mocking.
Yeah.
Project Mockingbird.
Yeah, it's like I've got a film coming out to do with the Hunger Games, Catching Fire. I'm going to try and put it out tonight, and on the back end of it is the blackout. It's all like when the grid goes down. So it's funny you mentioned that.
Yeah.
Synchronicity again.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we'll see, we'll definitely see what happens. But I do think, if I've heard people talk about turnings, and I don't know if that applies to this or not, but I think probably the main thing is let's not be in fear and just see what's going to happen. How is this going to relate? Because there's that whole ascension thing supposedly happening too.
Yeah, man, bring it on.
So how's that going to happen? I get it. And it sounds, like a really positive thing. And so how is this going to work? How are we going to go into 5D and that kind of thing? But I think whatever's coming for us is better than what we've been experiencing, for sure.
Yeah, I think ultimately we're creators. So if we believe what's coming is good, then that's where we're going. If we believe it's bad, then that's where we're going. Because I don't think we're all going to end up in the same place, right? So that's the main thing, I think, is trust yourself, trust that your thoughts are true. You don't have to get confirmation from someone else. Like, just pick where you want to go and start creating it, right?
Yeah.
See, that's it. Stop all this externalness, isn't it? To an extent, no one's ever bringing down anything around us, but until we empower ourselves a little bit and start thinking for ourselves and asking those questions and then doing work on ourselves, we can't really do anything, can we? But if we take the natural way things go, heavy goes down and light floats to the top. So try and make your light as hard as possible.
Something's going to happen. What it's going to look like, I don't know. Me, myself, I don't see us caught in this nightmare cycle forever.
No, that's enough.
I just don't see that.
Yeah.
So whatever's coming, I'm open to it. But I don't think humanity is lost.
No.
I think the perpetrators of these vile crimes against humanity are going to be held accountable, or something's going to happen, and they're not going to get away with it the way they think they were. I mean,
totally agree.
I just saw something not
natural. Maybe it's you, Michelle. Maybe we're looking for something spectacular. Maybe it's you, Cambell. Maybe it's you, Tara. Maybe it's every single one of us. As Cambell's saying, we're the creators. It's us. Maybe it's as simple as that. Everything that we're doing, all of us will combine to make something great.
Yeah.
Right.
And then it seems there is us, and there is some intelligence that we can't see, but that intelligence that brought us together. It when it comes to the grid and pyramids, and there is so many synchronicities, how things line up. It's just, there's something I can desire, I can visualize or do, guide myself, navigate myself in a certain direction. But then there are things that I can't even imagine that happened. And, it's not me, it's something beyond me, or maybe part of me that I'm not fully aware of. Like, for instance, when Cambell lived in Perth, I listened to him for like 3 years. I may be one of the first subscribers, 3-4 years, I don't, for a really long time. And I always want to meet him. And I would, because we were living in the same city, and I would contact him like a couple of times. He did not respond, obviously. He's, you guys know how many messages you get. And, anyway, when time was right, we were traveling already. We were 3 hours south of Perth in beautiful trees area, Margaret River and all those trees around there. And I'm just like, no, I'm going to try. I knew he's going to East Coast. I'm going to try. I'm going to send him a message. And he responds. And we only stop because we don't like spend time in city. We just stop for him to meet him. Couple of weeks later, I'm up north in a Broome, beautiful coastal town. And as I said before, I visited pyramids 2 times years ago. And there was always desire in me to share this place. There is so much material in our language, but not that much. It is in English, but there is, so I wanted to share it with English talking people and, the rest of the world. And somebody sent me a picture of Australian Bosnian consul being in Bosnia and with Osman Agic and promoting pyramids. And I just sit there by the beach and all the picture comes together. This is what I'm going. And he said they're going to promote pyramids in Australia. They're going to bring consulate, so politics. They're going to bring Osman Agic to make a tour. And I'm thinking, I'm going to ask them if they would, I ring them. The consul was on meeting, his secretary, pick up phone. And I told her what I was all about. And she said, I'll send him message. He's ringing me 5 minutes later. He left meeting to ring me back. And also, I contacted Osman Agic a couple of times before. He never replied. And he connected me with Osman Agic. And then I just, Cambell, this how this should work. And since then, just synchronicity after everything goes easy. Every booking we do regarding to that trip, everything goes. And another story, which I just want to say this to really make it clear it's real. It's not just something in our minds. Like when pandemic started, there is another pyramid in Serbia, which is called HeartMend, which is not that famous just yet. And so we are in Australia and there is pandemic started. And we're thinking we need to buy some land. We don't want a loan. We don't, obviously we will need some source of food. We did not know what's going to happen. So, and we both felt we want to own a piece of land under the pyramid. So we are here, we can't travel. My son is in Europe. We try to bring all the money together. And when one day I really made a clear decision. Yes, I want a piece of land under the pyramid. 3 days later, Morrison released, because there was pandemic, we could take out our Supra, so our retirement funds, 3 days later when I make decision. So we took that money out. We had enough money. So our son sorted it all out. So we own beautiful property there. And this is just in my mind. I would so often, many times when I go to sleep or I wake up, my first thought is I imagine being on a pyramid. And, there's a feeling of love, of appreciation. And the pyramid talks to me so many times how I should do this, how, to do it optimum, to not struggle, to make it easy. It tells me I had a health issue a few years ago. Pyramid told me exactly what's wrong with me. Next day I go to doctor, I go to check, and whatever it is, that intelligence that I started with, I think pyramid is just there as a generator. It makes it stronger. It makes it clearer. You know, it was right, that intelligence. And this is how I live my life. This is where I'm looking for guidance. This is where, you know, it's within me, and it's also kind of outside. So, and that's what brought me to this moment to talk to you all, which is, I'll say this again, my dream come true. I said that last time we talked with Kelly, and it's my dream. I saw this, you know, and you all, when I'm walking those trees at work, I listen all of you. The phone is in my pocket because I have such a nature of work. I can listen all the time, and they know you. Imagine they know all of you. Imagine this.
Love it.
That's my childish mind, but you know,
Yeah, man.
I think if we didn't have that same quality, we probably wouldn't be doing what we're doing. It's like,
sorry.
I'm open. I think if we didn't have that same kind of mind, you know,
Yes.
Anything's possible. And that something that I've been enjoying lately, I like to watch animal rescue videos and Food Network cooking competitions to relax at night. Because like I said, my brain is just like, it starts, the clarity, my best clarity is in the morning. And so and on my Twitter feed, and I've just really been enjoying watching the intelligence of our four-legged brothers and sisters. And a lot of these videos have been coming up just showing, I mean, there's a real intelligence in there. And I live with a cat, so I already know my cat's intelligence. But I mean, just dog that does yoga with its owner and does all the moves that the owner's doing, and this really cute video of this golden retriever dog. And I mean, I can't even, this dog was doing moves with its feet, just really cute moves, and had a rose in its mouth to give to its smaller golden retriever dog friend next to it. And then it ends with the smaller dog having the rose in its mouth, but the dog, as it's bringing it, is kind of doing a little skip, just like a person would. But anyway, I'm really enjoying those kinds of things, because it's like, yeah, I mean, there is just a palpable intelligence just like ours.
Yeah.
They're not communicating the way we are, but they're sure thinking the way we are.
Yeah.
And want to please humans.
Yes.
And it's just, I just throw that out. It's kind of what you were talking about reminded me of it. It's beautiful to watch those kinds of videos.
Yeah. That
show those characteristics. When there's so many animals out there that have been abused in whatever environments, and they still come out of them loving. When they get into a different situation, most of them do. It's just, anyway, it's all been part of what's gone on here, but I do think something better is coming, and I don't know what it's going to look like, but they're almost done.
Yep, I agree.
I agree.
The cracks are truly showing. They're about to crumble.
Yeah. Any thoughts for conclusion? It's been quite the time.
Yeah, it's about 2 hours. Yep.
Time goes fast when you right people, when you company of right people, right circumstances.
Definitely.
Yeah, no, I think that, the overriding theme is just, plug into nature, get back, try and get out of the electric grid as much as you can, go inside, trust yourself, and make good connections, right, with similar people, and so that you can actually talk about what's real and live and be more of yourself, rather than sort of having to pretend that you're part of the collective. It's because it's all changing. Don't hold on to what the past was, because that way all you'll do is project it forward. Like, it's time to really start to let go of all this stuff and to trust, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard not to see the darkness in the world. I know it is for people. some people, you know, and especially the way some of us talk with so much compassion, people don't understand where it's coming from. But I think what Tara so beautifully spoke about, and I'd love to speak about it to you more personally as well, about the Force. People call, you know, if you watch Star Wars, the Force,
Yes.
this
you know.
you know, there's amazing energy you can connect to, which the trees are part of. And yeah, man, if you find that, you're on your way. They're trying to block it.
The Ewoks.
But once you find that, you find the compassion, you find the love, you have an understanding, and then everything else can fall into place. You can work it a little better rather than work it from one of the two poles, because you know what, that's what they're trying to do. Either stick you as one of these Jesus on the streets going, you better do this, or a Satanist over here going, I hate you. It's one of the two. So just be you, you know, and find the Force and connect. Be a tree, be like a tree,
yeah.
Connect. Be beautiful.
Yeah.
All of that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I don't have anything to add to that. I mean, I think I'm grateful for the opportunity to be here today and have a meeting of minds with the four of us, and you know, let the synchronicities continue, and we know that they will.
Definitely.
They're a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was fun, guys. Cheers.
Thank you very much,
Chad.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Talk to you again. Very same. Big pleasure. Thank you.
Good night. Good night, Chad, and have a wonderful rest of your day over in Australia.
Yes, and have a nice afternoon, Michelle.
Half of us are on Saturday and half of us are on Sunday.